Hello viewers, welcome to St. Joseph of Arimathea Counseling Desk under the leadership of Reverend Samuel Githaiga. My name is Irene Kabinga. I thank God for giving me yet another chance to speak to all of us. Today, we will look at the importance of relationship in adults. And this will be a continuation from the talk we had on understanding teenagers. From the moment we were born until the moment we will die, we continue to develop. We continue to grow. Some of us are growing old and others are growing up, depending on the age. One psychologist by the name Erik Erikson divided lifespan development into different stages that are based on our age. And even in our African setup, we also belong to different age groups, depending on the age we are in. And if we look at our previous talk, we look at the adolescent stage, which was referred to as the identity versus the role confusion. This is the age between 12 to 18 years. And this is where adolescents struggle with identifying who they are and what they want in life. And today, you look at the next stage, that is now after the adolescent stage. And this is now the young adult stage. It is also referred to as the intimacy versus isolation stage. And it's actually in the bracket of the age between 20 to 40 years. This is the stage where most people are looking for long life, the romantic partners. You can also call it the working stage, because this is where individuals are very active and actually full of life. They don't have many things in life. They are actually active, their bodies are very active, they are energetic, and they are actually full of life. These individuals are either in the university or in colleges. There are those who have just cleared or have just been employed, those who are in romantic relationship or those who are in marriages. There are also those who have started families and those who are climbing into their careers. And the list goes on. After developing a sense of self in the adolescent stage, like we saw, they are now ready to share life with others, and the main concern here is actually intimacy. And as we all know, human beings are social as well as sexual beings. And as these individuals enter into adulthood, these intimate relationships play a very critical role in a person's emotional well-being. The book of Genesis gives us an account of God's creation. When God created the universe and the animals, He finally created man in His own image. Then He realized that there is no suitable helper for this man. It is then that He created a woman out of a man. And when the man saw the woman, he was so happy. And in Genesis 2 verse 21, he actually embraced the woman. And I'm looking at him even, hugging this woman. And he said, "This is the bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh." And in verse 24, it is stated that a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and the two become one flesh. Intimacy actually develops between the two, and we can therefore say that intimacy is ordained by God. Now let us understand what intimacy and isolation means. And just ponder, have you ever had a deep conversation or told a friend a secret? This is actually a sign of intimacy because you are trusting that person. You are creating a very close relationship by the trust you are having on this individual. And intimacy is therefore that loving relationship of any sort, and it requires sharing yourself with others. In some cases, it could also be in a romantic relationship. But note, it is not necessarily sexual relationship. And we find that individuals who navigate this period of life, actually now this stage, successively are now able to have fulfilling relationships. These relationships could be either in a family, friends, or even in social supports. Remember, we saw that intimacy is that loving relationship. It's that loving relationship of any sort, not really in a sexual setup. So it can also be in families, either with friends or with social supports. And actually, intimacy therefore requires one to share part of themselves with others, as well as the ability to listen and support others. So we really need to support one another so that this intimacy can develop between us, so that we can walk together this journey. And if you look at isolation, it's actually a person's attempt to avoid the intimacy. It's actually now the opposite of intimacy. It is as a result of fear of rejection or dismissal. Remember, this person is actually now fearing to be rejected. Don't know what will happen, and he's having now that fear. So what does the individual do? They isolate themselves. And I know that even if we are friends and loved ones, we have felt some form of isolation at some point. We feel like no one like us, and that we are alone, and that we therefore crave for the desire to meet our social needs. Remember, we said we are actually social beings. So when we are isolated, we crave, that crave to be with people, to be with others comes. And when this crave comes, or when we are actually isolated, we have trouble developing and maintaining this successful relationship. And this may cause loneliness or emotional isolation. And the people who are actually in this, who are isolated or lonely, they are struggling. And they are struggling with the isolation in them, and they actually experience lack of intimacy. They do not have now the intimacy in themselves. They cannot be able to create those close relationships. They have no friends or very few friends. They cannot even be able to have those romantic relationships. They also have very weak social support because they are not with people. They are in their own cocoon. And this can be very difficult because, on the other hand, those who have high levels of intimacy, those who have succeeded in those close relationships, they are actually falling in love, they are getting married, They are starting families and they are building careers. And this can really have a negative effect to an individual. So now let us look at the effects of isolation or loneliness. These individuals who are lonely or isolated, they have a very low self-esteem. Remember, they are in their own cocoon. So their self-worth goes down. They do not want to face people because they feel they are not, the other people are better than them. And now the esteem goes very down. They can have weight loss because remember, these people are on their own. Maybe they are not even eating enough or eating healthy, so they lose weight. Some can even gain weight because they are not with people. Now food become their friends and they can eat a lot. They are not even exercising, so the weight can come. Yeah, they have poor sleep. Remember, they are processing in their mind when they see others progressing, so they cannot sleep. They are fatigued. By the time they wake up in the morning, they have not slept, so they feel fatigued. They have no appetite, and they lose interest in most activities. It can also cause diseases like heart disease, depression, substance abuse is actually a disease, stress, and they can even have suicidal ideations. They are thinking of how they are going to finish themselves because they are not worth. They feel they are not worth living. And what are these factors that cause now the isolation or the loneliness? One, childhood experiences, like maybe neglect. Maybe this child, when they were young, they were neglected. We can also have abuse. The abuse can be physical abuse. It can also be sexual abuse. It can also be emotional abuse. Trauma can even cause these individuals to be isolated. Maybe they faced trauma when they were young and they have not been able to process this. It's still in their unconscious mind, and it can really cause now the isolation. When now they are supposed to create now relationship, they have not processed with this. It's still in their mind, and so they isolate themselves. Divorce or even death of a loved one can cause isolation. Maybe in their families there was divorce, and they didn't deal with it. They have lost a loved one. They didn't deal with it. There's that fear of intimacy. There are those people who fear to relate with others because they are fearing, like we saw, they are fearing rejection. They are also fearing dismissal. So they do not want to enter into intimacy. There are those people who are not able to open up, and they are in their own world. There's also the interference from parents and other family members. Like you are starting a relationship, maybe a romantic relationship. Here is a man and he has met a lady, and they want to start that romantic, intimate relationship. And when they share with the parents refuse. And they say, you cannot marry or you cannot bring such a lady here. You can imagine how it can affect this individual. And they isolate themselves. Remember, we don't know what attracted this man or this lady to the partner. And of course, this is the person who is going to live with the partner, not the parents. There's also the trouble with self-disclosure. There are people who are not able to disclose. They could be having issues, like we said, those childhood experiences, but they are not able to disclose. They are still processing within themselves, but they are not able, they are not ready to share with others. It can also cause isolation. Now these individuals, just like we saw, we are created as social beings, and we are not supposed to be ourselves. Remember in creation, we have seen that in creation, God saw that the man cannot live alone, and he created a helper for him. So these individuals who are isolated or lonely, how can we help them so that they can find intimacy? They can find those close relationships so that they can be able to live with other people. We can help them by helping them avoid those negative thoughts. Remember we said their self-worth, their self-esteem is low because they are feeling they are not worthy, and they are always making those negative thoughts. They are saying, I cannot make it, I'm not worthy. So we help them change that narrative to, I can make it, I can do it, I am worthy. And in Philippians 4:13, this can help them by saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this can actually help them change that narrative to positive. We can also help them by build skills by attending therapy talks. They can be helped by therapy talks. They can also be helped in trainings or even in workshops to feel that they are okay and they have skills to take them through. They can also be helped by to determine what they want. Yeah? Be assertive. If this is what I want, if I want to be in this relationship, be assertive and say, this is what I want. Do not be moved by the crowd. They can also be helped by evaluating the situation. Evaluate the situation. What is this I need? What type of a relationship am I seeking for? And when they evaluate that, they will be able to make informed decisions. They can also be helped by practicing self-disclosure. Remember we said once you disclose, you'll be helped. You'll be able to receive help. And also to be open to feedbacks. Yeah? Once they are given a feedback, they'll be able to take it positively. And this can actually help them. And also good communication skills. Remember we learned about good communication skills. And good communication is key in relationship, just like we saw earlier in our last talk. So they can be helped to be open and honest as they communicate, and this can really help them. And as I conclude, I want to say that healthy relationships are important for our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. The Bible in Ecclesiastes 11 verse 9 says, you who are young, be happy while you are young, and let your heart give you joy in the days of your youth. So enjoy your youth. And your youth will determine how you will navigate future stages of development in life. Remember, we still have a long way to go. So your youth will determine how you will become as years progress. And you can change your life or someone else's life for the better. Don't wait until you or someone else reaches, those final stages in life. We call them the sunset. It will be too late. The last thing anyone wants is to die alone. Talk to someone today. A counselor may be helpful to help you or your loved ones understand behaviors that might be preventing you from having those healthy, intimate relationships. In Hosea 4, God says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Don't wait to be destroyed. Seek counsel from those whom God has placed in position at a time like this. You can call St. Joseph of Arimathea Counseling Desk and you'll get assistance. The number is displayed on the screen. Thank you for listening to me. It is my prayer that you have picked something from this talk. God bless you and stay safe.